everybody! Before I purchased the item that I'm going to be reviewing in this video, my thought was, is it too good to be true? This initially appeared to me as one of those palettes where they've just packed in a ton of stuff. You see it all the time in lower cost or generic brand items coming out, you know, around the holidays in your drugstores, and you wonder, is anything in there worthwhile? And even though this was IT Cosmetics brand products, I had to wonder, did they put lesser quality items in here, because many brands seem to do that around the holidays. What got me even more intrigued and ultimately pushed me to buy this was when I saw how the different products in this palette were actually named, you know, the same things, claiming to be the same product line as other things that have been out individually for a while, like their Hello Light highlights and Sunshine in a Compact Bronzer, Bye Bye Undereye Correctors, Naturally Pretty Eyeshadows, Bye Bye Pores Blushes. All these things that I know to exist in their line regularly are being put in here, so I just had to try it and see if they measured up. So I am wearing that entire palette on my skin. The only other extra items that I am wearing today are my CC cream, my brow product, an eyeliner, and a mascara. So this is the entire face that I'm just holding right here, which kind of blows my mind, but there is a ton packed in this palette, from concealers to eyeshadows to lipstick. I got this palette for just under $50 on QVC's website. I was on there getting some completely unrelated items for Christmas gifts for people, and then I saw this and I thought, whoa, let's check this out. It did come in like a silvery gift box with a bow on it and a tag, so it is completely cute and gift ready if that's what you want to do with it. When you open it up, you've got a big mirror here. The mirror takes up the entire space of this square on the lid. Then you've got two forms of highlighters on top, 18 eyeshadows. You open these doors and you've got a Bye Bye Pores translucent powder, a bronzer, 4 of the Bye Bye Undereye Correctors, and then your little trap door underneath reveals 6 of the Blurred Lines lipsticks and 3 of the Bye Bye Pores blushes. So I'm going to be comparing along the way just the quality of these products compared to items in their regular line that I have. I don't own like every single item in this palette in an individual, but when I do have that kind of insight to share, I will share that with you. Lots of swatches, demos, the whole 9 yards in this video. I think the way I want to talk about this is just kind of in the order of application. So I'm going to start with the Bye Bye Undereye Correctors. So this is different from the Bye Bye Undereye concealers that come in a tube. The correctors are actually sold in these little blue jars. I've had the one in medium for quite some time, and it's been a great go-to for covering melasma, covering dark circles, especially when my skin has been just a little bit darker, because like I said, I have this in medium. So the 4 shades that you're getting in this palette are light, medium, tan, and deep. And while the formula, the feel of the product seems to be the same to me, the coverage level seems the same, I feel like the shades are just a little bit off, because you're getting that light, which is very, very light, and then the next one is called medium, but it's definitely lighter than my medium that I've got in the full size. My medium is more comparable to the 3rd shade in this lineup called tan, and to be most accurate, it's probably a mix of the two. It's kind of a mix of medium and tan would get you the shade that I have in the full size. And then the final shade that's in here is called deep. And you might be thinking, well, why the heck do I need 4 different corrector shades in here? And the answer is that you probably don't. But if you think you're going to gift this to any random person, you know, it is nice to have that little range in there. Plus, I do find myself mixing them. When I was applying this today, I already had my CC cream on. That was the only thing on my skin. And then I used the tan shade to kind of overall, you know, correct my under eye area. And then I mixed in a little bit of the shade labeled medium to brighten a little bit. And then I feel like almost any skin tone could further brighten and highlight themselves with that lightest shade. It's very, very light. And I cream contoured a couple days ago with the darkest color. That's pretty warm on my skin for a cream contour, but I'm just saying it can be done. It's a really good full coverage corrector type formula. There's a lot of peach tone in my medium, and I feel feel like I can achieve that same color when I mix the medium and tan shades in this palette. So like I said, a little inconsistency in shade there. I don't know if they tried to make an adjustment to maybe broaden out their spectrum that they were putting in here, but the formula, the consistency, the way it goes on the skin, the coverage level that it has seems to be what I'm used to in this guy. And then after that, I just chose to set my under eye with the Bye Bye Pores Pressed that's in here. And that product was recently in their Je ne sais quoi palette. That was my first exposure to this item, and I really do like it. Seems to be the same kind of feel from what I can tell. I used it with just my little e.l.f. small tapered brush, dabbed it on my under eye area, dabbed it on my T-zone as well because I really wasn't pulling in any other kind of powder. It's just a nice, lightweight, very smooth, translucent powder. That being said, I think you could apply too much of this product and get a slightly whitish look on the skin. So I think as long as you use that product with a light hand, you're going to be fine and enjoy the outcome with it. Then I decided to warm up my skin with the product right next door, which is the Sunshine in a Compact Bronzer. This also appeared in their Je ne sais quoi little 4-piece compact. And in this palette, this is another inconsistency I've noticed. It's much deeper in here. It's a little bit softer, more color picks up on your brush when you just dab into it. So that may make that product a little bit more user-friendly for people who have deeper skin tones and want a bronzer to show up a bit more. But I just use a light hand with this product, dab into it with my e.l.f. complexion brush, use it a little bit in the hollows of the cheeks, around the perimeter of the face, anywhere I want to use it. Now the next thing I would use in my sequence of makeup application would be a blush. And so you've got 3 blush choices in this palette. One has some shimmer, and it's kind of the first peachy one in the row, called Natural Flush. And then you've got Rose Glow in the center, which is a soft matte pink. And then Perfect Plum is also matte, and it looks kind of light in the compact, but I feel like it applies just a hair deeper and a little more rosy than you might expect. But I like that. I like all 3 of these blushes. I've worn them all on my face, and there's not been one I have any complaints about. Now I should also point out I didn't have any of these blushes in their regular, like, full size. So I'm just kind of going with what's in the palette here, and I like what I see. So today I used my Milani blush brush, and I tapped into the plum one and just applied that there on the apples of the cheeks, outer part of the apple, and I think it's just a beautiful shade. I really like all 3 of those blushes so much, and I like the one that has a little shimmer in it isn't over the top glowy either. Speaking of glow, after that I moved on to the highlights in this kit. So you're getting one that's cream and one that's powder, and they are each a little bit different tones. One is the Hello Light Cream, one is called the Hello Light Powder. As you see these swatch side by side, you can see that the second swatch, which is the powder, has a little bit more of a buttery look to it, a little more golden tone. Like, I'm using that term very, very loosely because it's not like it's a gold highlight, but it's just a little bit warmer than the cream. So I think it's good to have 2 different highlight tones. I would say your spectrum of highlighting is this. For the most subtle highlight, you would wear the cream alone. For a little bit more pronounced highlight, the powder alone, and if you want like the biggest effect, layer them. So first off, I applied the cream, and I used my e.l.f. small stipple brush for that, and I just kind of dabbed it right along the top of my cheekbones. It's a very subtle glow. It's really pretty, and I do own that product in the full size, and it seems to be the same tone, the same feel, same formula. And then I went into the powder, which I used to have, but it broke, and I used that with my Up and Up highlight brush and just kind of dabbed it right over the top. And something about going cream straight to powder on top, it really emphasizes that glow. Now the cream is a really nice formula because it does not stay tacky. It almost does feel a little bit cream to powder. As I rub it between my fingers, it's like it doesn't stay sticky whatsoever. You do feel a little bit of dryness as it blends out. So that makes it easy to blend. If you wanted to apply that with your fingers, I don't think you'd have any problem with it. But you know me and my e.l.f. small stipple brush, I mean, we're like this. So that's the way I used it, and I was really pleased with both of those products. So the next thing we're going to move on to are the eyeshadows, and we've got a lot to talk about here because there are 18 eyeshadows in this set. 4 of the 18 are blatantly, you know, metallic, shimmery shades, and then there's one other that's just like a barely there sheen. The rest are matte, so you are getting mostly matte in here. This was the part when I was first swatching this palette, I was holding my breath the most on the eyeshadows because I just thought, oh, I know I like the Naturally Pretty shadows that come in the Volume 1 and the Volume 2 palettes. If it's not like that, I'm gonna know instantly. And I can tell you that they do feel the same. The interesting thing is that I was just expecting that these shades would be taken directly from these since they're all labeled as Naturally Pretty eyeshadows, but there's really only 2 shadows that share the same names as stuff in this palette. One is the shade called Warmth, and that's nearly the same color as one in the first palette. And then there's one labeled Desire, and that's the black. And that's not anything like the shade labeled Desire in the Volume 2 palette. It's like a soft pink in this palette. So what I see happening here is the same eyeshadow formula, really the same feel of those mattes. And as far as the shimmers go, if you've got any of those little IT Cosmetics trios that contain some shimmers, they feel like those. They feel like the shimmers in the original IT Cosmetics eyeshadow palette that came with little round shadows, like, what was it, 1, 2, 3? If I'm remembering correctly, it was like a 12 shadow palette, and it was a mix of matte and shimmer, and some of those shades like the taupe and this kind of bronzy gold remind me of that formula as well. I really don't see anything in here that's lacking, that disappointed me. There are certain ones that, you know, are similar to things in the other palette, a dark brown, a black, you know, a medium brown, light creamy colors or bordering on light pinks, you know, those can kind of be found in these palettes. They're maybe not swatching exactly the same tone, but they are the same kind of feel. And this is being marketed as a gift type palette. They're giving it to you in a freaking gift box, okay? So they're not gonna throw in a lot of off-the-wall colors. I wouldn't have expected that. It's a lot of neutrals in here, and yeah, they may be neutrals that you find in other palettes, but if you are a fan of the Naturally Pretty eyeshadow formula, you're not going to be disappointed with what's in here because they feel very similar. So I want to swatch the first half of the palette, the left half. There's a lot of great warmish neutral type colors in there. While I love the tone of the center one in the top row, it's kind of like a light caramely camel type color. It's really pretty. It's great in the crease, but that one does kick up a lot of fallout. Probably generates the most fallout out of any shade that I've noticed when I first stick my brush in. So kind of be careful with that one because it is side by side with the Creme highlight. But I truly love the range. The light shades really show up, and that can help your blending tremendously as you're going over the border of darker things. And then the center shadow in the bottom row, that medium brown, has just a hint of rose in it. It's gorgeous. I used it in today's look. A dark brown I think is a must. Then moving over to the other side of this palette, we've got a few soft rosy shades, some light lilac colors, a gorgeous shimmery taupe that has a hint of lilac in it, that great goldeny bronze. You've got a matte black that I think is another like eyeshadow palette essential. So I was very, very pleased with the shadows. So for my look today, I primed my lids and then I used that medium brown that has just the teeniest bit of a rosy tone in it. I used that in my crease with my Sigma E25 brush. Then I used a light creamy color just over the border of that as my highlight. I used a flat brush to pack on this goldeny bronze, which it is a total fusion of gold and bronze. It's not too bright and brassy, and I patted that all over my lids. And then I cleaned off my brush and brought in the matte black just for a little added contrast right there in my outer corner. I also used a pencil brush to bring the matte black down onto the lower lash line a bit and used the bronze there a little bit as well. I used the one light shimmery color that you have in here right around my innermost corner. You could also use your Hello Light highlight as an eyeshadow easily. And I finished off my look with some black eyeliner on the upper lash line and some Demi Wispy false lashes, and it's just a great easy look. I didn't do this look to create something vastly different and amazing from what I would normally do. These are, number one, very basic colors, but number two, I just wanted to show you some of the different tones and finishes. I wanted to work in one of the shimmers so you could see that happening, see some of the darker shades, see the lighter shades. So there's just one example of a look that you can do. And then the icing on the cake for the look would be the lip products. And what you've got in here are 6 of the Blurred Lines lipsticks. This is what they look like in a full size. And these are, I think, a real combination of a lipstick and a lip balm. They feel just that comfortable on the lips. It's a really nice formula, and especially worn in kind of a mid-tone to light shade, it's going to be very easy to wear. If you choose to wear the red in here, I would suggest giving it a little bit of a blot because these are just so creamy and so smooth. That's just the one that you would have to keep an eye on a bit more. Everything else I think is super, super easy to work with and wear. And I was so pleased that I have all of these shades in a full-size lipstick. I swatched them all side by side, and with one exception, they all really match up. Trying all these on for you, I'm using the lip brush that's provided in the palette. The first one is the shade called Love. This is a perfect Your Lips But Better type of lipstick color. It's just got a little bit of brown, a little bit of mauve. It's the perfect mix of tones that I think naturally occur in my lips anyway, so it really works for me. The next one is the Je ne sais quoi Blurred Lines, so that's going to be your brightest pink pop, but it's not an unwearable pink pop. It's very fresh and I like the color. Next up, you got the shade called Perfect Nude, and this is a really like kind of rich caramely colored nude. I have enjoyed this lipstick shade actually, so I thought it was cool that it was in here. It's very buttery, smooth, creamy. Next is the only shade that has any sort of shimmer in this lineup, and that's the color Believe. And this is a little bit plummy, like kind of a plummy mauve with a hint of shimmer. The shimmer does not bother me in this kind of formula because it is so smooth and balm-like. It never really makes my lips look dry. Now the color called It Girl is your red. True red, really pretty, but like I said, you gotta watch this one if you're wearing it in its full glossed out kind of state. You might want to blot over it just for longer term wear. And then the final shade is called Naturally Pretty, and this is the one I've been wearing throughout the video. My original lipstick in that shade strikes me as a true pinky mauve, but it's a little more deep with a hint more purple in the palette, and I like that, but that's the only inconsistency I noticed when you look at all of the lipsticks full size versus what's in the palette. This one in the palette is just a little bit deeper, and I think it's gorgeous, so I've enjoyed wearing that. And I want to show you the full lineup. The top row, those are swatches from the palette. The bottom row are all the lipsticks, and I think the main difference that will probably stand out to you as it did to me is the final shade called Naturally Pretty. Like I said, deeper in the palette, but I like it. I think it sets that color apart a little bit more. Now, one thing that I haven't mentioned yet is there is a little brush section up here. Okay, you're getting a small little blush brush. I'm not a fan of tiny blush brushes. I mean, I'll take your sponge tip. I'll take and use your sponge tip, people, but if you give me those tiny blush brushes, you're just asking for streaky application there. So I don't really see a lot of value in that. You do get the double-ended sponge tip and you do get the lip brush. It works fine. It's just handy to have in there and use alongside those lip products in the bottom tray. But realistically, I'm going to use probably my own eye brushes and my own like face brushes for the other products, but they do give you something in there. Overall, for under $50 for everything you're getting and the quality of everything that's in here, I think an under $50 price tag is a fantastic value for this. I think you could give this to someone and not everybody's analyzing like, oh, is this exactly like the full size that I have of blah, blah, blah. But I wanted to go there for you in this video in any way I could. And they really kept the quality in here. So I give major props to IT Cosmetics for doing that and giving us what we expect in these products. Again, just to point out the inconsistencies that I noticed in the shade range of the under eye correctors, you know, it's a little bit off there. I own the shade called medium and it's definitely deeper than the medium that they give you. The bronzer seems to be a little bit darker and more pigmented than the Sunshine in a Compact that I already had. And then there was just that one lip product that was a little bit off. I don't own any of the blushes, like I said, in full sizes, so I can't speak to those specifically, but I do love all of the blushes that are in here, and I thought they did a great job on the eyeshadows too. And while there is just a whole lot of convenience associated with having that many different products all in one compact. Like I said, I pulled in a BB cream, an eyeliner, a mascara, a brow product, and an eye primer. I should have pointed that out. But those few other items plus this, I mean, is there a better travel companion type palette out there? It just has so much in it, and I think that's great. If you want to get really nitpicky though, which sometimes I do, there are a few cons to having this much packed in one palette, and that is having creams right side by side with a powder that may potentially kick up some fallout and start to get in with your creams and interfere with that whole thing. So that is a possibility. I would say the biggest issue is around these eyeshadows and then your Hello Light Cream highlight up top. Because this particular shadow, this guy here, gorgeous shade, but one of the biggest offenders in terms of kicking up powder when you just stick your brush in. So you've got to be careful with that. I'm not really concerned about these powders kicking up a whole lot into my concealers because I feel like I'm just barely dabbing into those anyway, and they're not too bad about having a lot of fallout. And then my lip products down here, you can actually, when you're using your blushes, just keep the lip products hidden and only pull out the lip products when you're actually going for them, you know? One other concern that you might have is when you're sitting this palette out and you've just got it all opened up and open to the air and you're just applying everything that's in here, how soon are these concealers going to dry out? How soon is this highlight going to dry out? And that's something I really can't answer for you right now because I've never had a palette from IT Cosmetics like this before. So I'm really not sure what the lifespan of these creams is going to be like. I will certainly continue using it and I'll update you down the road and let you know, but I know for those purchasing it right now, I can't be of a whole lot of help. But overall, you guys, I am beyond pleased. I love the eyeshadows. I love having those correctors in here. And honestly, the 4-shade range does give you quite a bit of versatility in what you can do with those. I love the bottom drawer. All 3 blushes, all of the lip colors I think are super usable. I love that they kept with the same formula as what their blurred line lipsticks actually are. I mean, they feel identical. Now this product is exclusive to QVC, so you're not going to be seeing it in an Ulta or a Sephora or anything. But thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you to those of you who had kind of inquired about this as well. Right at the time I think I discovered that this was on their website, several of you tweeted me and you're like, is that worth it? Should I get that? So thank you for watching again, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.